an assistant at Portland State University in the School of Social Work, and just happy to get to help host this conversation. This is my first time being introduced to the film and meeting everybody here. So I thought, because we do have a great crew of folks that were part of the film, I thought it'd be great to just turn it over to you. Maybe start with you, Michelle, introduce yourself, and maybe in a sentence or two, why did it feel important to be part of making this film? And then when you're done, Michelle, just pass it to whoever you want from your team.
Awesome, that sounds great. Hi, I'm Michelle Yates, and I co-directed and produced the film Rebel Bells. I'm also an associate professor in the Department of Humanities, History, and Social Sciences at Columbia College Chicago. And so I had the amazing opportunity to meet Jade Mazone and Olga Batista, Jade, who's with us, and Olga, who we see in the film, who co-founded Rebel Bells Collective. I had the opportunity to meet them through a class that I teach at Columbia College called Nature and Environmentalism in U.S. Culture. They came to my class to talk about issues of environmental justice on Chicago's southeast side. And in the course of guest lecturing to students in my class, they mentioned, Jade in particular mentioned that they had started this collective, and it sounded really awesome and brilliant. And for those of you who've seen the film, I think the film speaks to why I wanted to make this film. The girls and women in the Rebel Bells Collective are absolutely brilliant and super amazing. And I'm so glad to have some of them here with us tonight. So you can ask them questions and they can tell their stories in their own words. And with that, I'm gonna pass it over to Alyssa.
Hi, my name is Alyssa. I've been a part of the Rebel Bells for a while. I don't know how many years it's been. It's been a while. I think I joined when I was like a sophomore in high school, and I'm gonna be a junior in college now. So it's been a while, and it's helped me a lot with different speaking, public speaking opportunities with myself personally. I've met a lot of good friends and people through the Rebel Bells, and they're in the Rebel Bells itself. I was supposed to answer why it's important, the film, correct? Okay. So when I first heard about the Rebel Bells film, I thought it was exciting because that way we would get more exposure. I remember at one point there was a plan to try to have a Rebel Bells in every city. So that would definitely help us. And yeah, I was just really grateful and honored to be a part of everything. And I'll pass it to Jade and Kiki.
So, so as a co-founder, the making of this film was kind of like validation, because there were so many naysayers when we first started, approaching people with our idea, and a lot of people right away wanted to fit us in a box and compare us to the Girl Scouts, and since there was already a pretty large Girl Scouts in the area, and nobody was doing anything that was even somewhat to do with social justice. It felt so awesome to see the girls recognized for their work, and again, like I said, it was validation that we weren't crazy. This wasn't like some half-baked idea, and that it can be done successfully. Training activists, informing the community, and just opening up a whole nother avenue for the girls in our neighborhood to express themselves and to grow. And since Kiki's here, I'm going to pass it over to Kiki. Why was the film important to you?
So you be recognized.
Okay, so you'll be recognized. What do you mean by that, love?
So you get more potential.
Oh, more potential? Yeah. You mean opportunities?
Opportunity.
Yeah, opportunities. Okay. Who do you want to pass it to? Marta.
I joined Rebel Bells around when Alyssa joined Rebel Bells. I was a freshman, and I'm gonna be a sophomore in college next year or this year. I think the film was so important. Well, it was important to me because I feel like there is a lack of awareness around really what goes down in like the region and like the southeast side Chicago. And I get building off of what Alyssa said, there was like a plan, or not like a plan, but like a hope that maybe groups like Rebel Bells could pop up in other cities, and this film spreads awareness about our group, and spreads the idea of our group, and I think that's really positive.
Thank you for just getting us started, and by sharing a little bit about who you are and why this film was important to you. I'd love to. I have a bunch of questions, but this is meant to be an open conversation, talk back with the folks at the conference, to get to speak with all of our Rebel Bells crew here. So welcome to Michael, who just joined us, and Dave and Keith. Were there questions you brought in and came to the session with that you want to kick out? You can unmute and ask. We're a small group. You can also put them in the chat.
Hi, I'm Keith. Also brought up on the south side of Chicago. And I was very interested in what might be coming next. Do you plan to go out and start new groups in other places, or develop materials for people to follow? Or is it pretty much you go out and try it on your own? What would you recommend as the next step?
I'll take the first one, Keith.
Thank you.
As Alyssa and Martha had previously mentioned, we do have hopes and aspirations that our model for the collective would be able to be used in other communities, even those with other social justice problems, not necessarily environmental justice, which we've been focused on, because that's what's happening in our community. But whatever's going on in their community, it would be able to. It's a nice model for people to kind of tailor make it to their needs. And so one way that we hope that this happened is we had early on decided not to copyright any of our curriculum or anything that we've created ourselves. Instead, we intend to put them in Creative Commons, where it'll be accessible to anybody. And maybe hopefully down the line, in my head, in my dream of dreams, is that some of the Rebel Bells and I can go to different communities and do workshops, so that it's more like one-on-one and more personal, and it'd be kind of like this, a Q&A. If anybody else wants to jump in.
Well, I guess for me, I'm moved away from, I live in Michigan now. So I think for me, it's more just like utilizing what I've learned to find a base somewhere else. Because, the problems of the region and the South Side aren't just like confined to the region and the South Side. So I feel like I can use what I've learned to to fight the fight somewhere else, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback off what Marta said. Since I'm away from where the Red Rebels was originally created, I'm just utilizing like what I've learned and the skills that the Rebels gave me to any opportunities I'm given to help others. I'm a part of this community legion for young Hispanic and Native American youth with UTSA. So I will definitely bring some ideas and just things I learned from the Rubber Bells to help that program. But I do hope UTSA is like a college here. It's like they're funding a program. It's I think 3 or 4 years. So I'm definitely gonna help with that. But I do hope that with the film that there is like little mini Rebel Bells all over the place. And yeah, it's the University of Texas San Antonio.
Can I piggyback off that question actually too and ask like Marta and Alyssa, how do you think the Rebel Bells has like prepared you to be successful? Like now moving like out into the world as grown-ups, right? As adults. And like I'm like curious to know what you're majoring in college and like how do you envision like your future career as well?
Well, I'm an art student. My major is inter-arts performance, so it's kind of a weird one. I feel like Rebel Bells really prepared me with a voice. We went to DC with Mom's Clean Air Force, and I think that really we lobbied our congressman, and that's I think a big deal to do as a kid and like you're not really knowing anything and then watching how the people who make all the rules like interact with you as the one who follows the rules, I guess. But I definitely I don't see that voice that I like inherited from Rebel Bells not being a part of the work that I'm creating in school or outside of school or my or any of my writing or anything like that. It's always going to be there and be present in whatever I do.
So I'm studying forensic psychology. The Rebel Bells has helped me a lot because I never really used to voice my opinion in anything, regardless if it's politics or even something as simple as like something on TV, like a show or something. So it's really helped me, like Marta said, give me my own voice. It's helped me with public speaking. I was able to speak on the behalf of Rebel Bell once at, I forgot where it was, but it's, yeah, just giving me a voice and the public speaking things really helping me from Rebel Bells. So I'm sorry, I'm nervous. I just thank them a lot because I think about it like if I've never gone through that stage of life with them or that chapter, I don't know who I would be now. But yeah, that's my.
Thank you. I really appreciate those answers. And part of what it strikes me, and I hear you talking about it, is that we, you know, when you sort of plant seeds, you don't always know where they're going to show up, and sometimes they blow into your neighbor's yard and pop up over there, and so it's not always a straight path. So maybe there'll be Rebel Bells everywhere, or maybe the Rebel Bells will start new things and launch new things in other places, and it won't look exactly the same. So anyway, it's cool to hear you talk about it. Michael, jump on in.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to ask is has it started a movement and expanded beyond the core group that was presented in this movie? Or have any of you thought about organizing something in the communities you're in right now for school? Yes, Marta, take it away.
I'm still trying to figure out I don't even know the people in my major from this last COVID year. So I'm trying to figure out a base first. I haven't really had any plans to organize anything outside of that. So I would love to. I just don't really know where to start right now, I guess. I definitely think that is something to think about. It's a good idea. But yeah, it's been tough over COVID trying to figure out really just like what my community is, like where I fit in my school and my city now.
Alyssa?
Yeah, it's a lot of what Marta said, especially because I'm in a whole new state, a whole new city. I guess the customs here are different than how I grew up, even though there's a lot of Hispanic people in San Antonio, but I just feel that they were, I guess, brought up differently than I was. There I've met people who don't know what like social justice even is. Like it's not really a thing down here. Um, People like I'll be in a coffee shop and I'll try to make friends, and it's like people look at me weird when I talk about like politics or have an opinion. So it's just like Marta said, trying to figure out, trying to figure out where I belong in the community and trying to adjust to it because it's very different. But I do hope, I want to, when I'm finished with my psychology degree, I wanted to do something like form my own little organization or something that helps young women because I feel like a lot of young women would benefit from a program like that.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the things that I thought of when watching this documentary is that tools have been provided to all of these girls on and how to navigate um, precarious spaces that one has never dealt with before, and to just be able to use that no matter what social setting or context you're in, even if it's navigating a classroom and navigating how to solve a problem, solve a question that you've never been asked before. It's some of these things that we learn early on in life can be um, used throughout the rest of your life, and to learn that stuff early on is extremely valuable because you went to college with a leg up, right? It's sort of a privilege that you were able to take with you and use for good while in college. So thank you.
If I can just add on to that, Michael, that those experiences, those tools that you had mentioned, and thank you for noticing that, those were all intentional. When we sat down and we were trying to figure out, what is the purpose of getting these girls together, and a lot of us, like, we thought back on our lives, times that we felt insecure or we felt lacking, and we wanted to make sure that the girls in the organization would be better prepared for, like you said, whatever life throws at them. Could be college, could be trade, parenting or mentoring. We wanted to make sure that we gave the girls an opportunity for experiences that might be second nature in other communities, but it generally was not taught or I guess even thought of in our community.
Yeah, and what I really enjoyed is watching as the girls came together to navigate some problems, even from just the games that were being communicated, right? Like, oh wait, I didn't realize that I was going to miscommunicate in this way, and I thought that I was communicating as best as I could. Oh wait, maybe I need to rethink it and retool and come back at it another time. Just because I failed once doesn't mean that I failed forever. And now that I've thought about it and I'm doing it over again, wow, I did much better. It's to be failing at it once does not make a person a failure, which I like that that thought process. And then just giving people second chances in low stakes situations, so that when big stakes situations come about, the tools are there.
And so Michael, are you a teacher then? Are you a professor?
I am. I teach sociology at William Penn University in Iowa, and that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons that I watched this video, because it was close to home.
And so do you see that as like I hear you, and like also like I'm a teacher too, so or professor as well. And so I like what you just said feels like really useful like in our classrooms too, like what the Rebel Bells are kind of doing, providing like low stakes opportunities for young people to fail. And then learn something from that. I feel like there's even like a lesson there for how we can kind of create a similar environment like in our own classrooms. I guess, I'm bringing you into the Q&A as well, and kind of asking you I love that you pointed that out, because pointed out that part of the film, and like I think Pilar is like brilliant for like allowing us to film her and like include that like in the film. I think that's really brave. I'm wondering like how you see that as like beneficial like in your own like.
One example that I can provide that may be comparable to what's going on here is I have a sociology of contemporary issues class, and 2 years ago, I had my students work alongside students who are in the arts, and specifically an improv and movement class. And then I had them work with a communications course, principles of communication. And students in all three of these courses came together to develop a performance about a major social issue that they found important to them. So the students in my social problems course, their job was to organize all the literature to be able to communicate to the improv and movement class about this is what the problem is. Now put together a skit that can be performed in front of everybody else. Well, you also need to communicate that to the principles of communication class, because they need to promote this performance so that people show up in the audience and listen and watch. But you all need to work together, because you need to know what's going on in all of these courses. They learned early on, and this was the first time go around for me. So I was learning as they were learning, right along with them, to figure out how to best communicate across these different majors where the jargon isn't known. So when my sociology students were talking sociology, it was difficult for the performance art students to know exactly what was going on. Many of them weren't majoring in performance arts because it was undergrad, and and we don't have a performance art major. We have a minor in art, we have a minor in music, things like that. But many of them were not sociology majors, so they didn't understand the language that was being taught to them. They had to break it down and simplify it and put it in a lens that they are familiar with. So it was really cool to see how they're communicating with one another across disciplines. And I think that the experiences that the Rebel Bells have collectively is greater than any individual girl. Therefore, it's similar, but it's a different context.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we should definitely maybe sometime figure out brainstorm how maybe you could do something similar at your university.
One thing that I kind of wanted to hear more about was this sort of relationship between girls' empowerment and environmental justice. And I think, Jade, you said at the beginning, like nobody was doing anything like this in our community. And I think that's partly what the nobody was doing, is that intersection. And why does that intersection, why was that so important? And how do you sort of talk about that or think about like why why girls, it's not enough just to do girls empowerment, or that part of girls empowerment actually is understanding these issues and what's happening in their communities. How do you talk about it or think about it?
Well, that intersectionality that you spoke of, what was really missing in our community was kind of like a healing factor. So before the Rebel Bells, the moms were really active in environmental justice. We were always going to meetings, we were going to rallies and marches, and in the Mexican culture, we bring our kids everywhere. So there they were, right there with us. And I believe in the film, we talked about it a little bit, where the girls were scared. They're like, well, this is happening. They absorbed what was going around them, and they had no way to process it. And we had no way to help them process it. So we met a need for our own children, but we knew right away we weren't going to confine it to our own families. This is something that the community in general needed to do. We've had so much trauma from violence, gang, gun, domestic violence, drug addiction, poverty, and what we felt that we could change was the environmental injustice. So that is something that we could see an end to. That's something that we can do individually as a collective, as a group of people, to make us stronger. So it was really the healing, where we could provide a safe place for the girls to feel whatever they were feeling, give them a vocabulary to express themselves and unpack what they were feeling, and then give them an opportunity to do something about it. So I think that's like kind of like the winning formula. It's like, they're going to learn something, but then we're going to provide a space where they can process it in their own way, in a safe place. And then what are we going to do about it? Oh, you guys want to have a rally. Oh, everybody, the group decides, I don't know, Marta and Alyssa, can you think of any things where we said, okay, we're going to do something about it?
Well, I could definitely add on to what you said. About processing and needing the space to process. That is why I think Rebel Bells was so important to me. And I remember in the beginning, deciding for it to be a female space was also super important for that reason, to process together and have a shared experience with others in the community. And I think growing up in East Chicago, the industry there is so normalized, and being one of those kids that would go with their parents to all the action was also normalized. So it's not normal to grow up so close to such, horrible industry and have these huge actions all the time and no change ever is made. And so that frustration can be shared amongst the group, because we were all those girls who would go to the actions with their parents. And I think an example of us saying that I mentioned that we went to DC with Moms Clean Air Force earlier, and I think that was a really good example of saying that we needed to do something about this. We lobbied from East Chicago at least, we were lobbying against PCBs, a PCB dump next to our one of our high school and soon to be preschool. That fight was not completely won, but that was our we did that. We actually, like, and it was the action of doing something that wouldn't have been done otherwise, and possibly pushing a dump back on schedule or any kind of motion, I think is super important.
Alyssa, did you have anything to add to this sort of like the relationship between girls' empowerment and environmental justice?
Well, I didn't have a parent that was like into environmental justice. When I heard about Herbal Bells, at first I didn't want to because my mom was making me go. She was like, oh, it's gonna help you with like your self-esteem and all this other stuff. And I was like, okay, fine. And then when we brought up the environmental justice unit, I was like, I was in shock at first because I didn't know it was like that bad. So being able to be taught all these different about all these different industries and the problems happening in my neighborhood that I've grown up in really opened my eyes, because besides that, the only thing I really knew of was like global warming and like pollution, like driving in cars is bad. Like that was like my environmental justice, so I think just being a part of it opened my eyes, and now I have a better understanding. So the whole thing was really just a learning experience for me.
Thank you. I see we have a question in the chat. And maybe Jade, you're the right person to start this. What practical problems were encountered in trying to create an organization for change and get others to buy into its vision as a solution?
Well, right off the bat, we had $0 to start this. So, we were resourceful moms. So in that respect, that was a big hurdle to have no funds to start it. But we had so many awesome people in our community that was willing to contribute in some way or another. I'll brag about Marta's mom. She's a Golden Apple winner. And so, and I was a teacher, so she and I, created the curriculum. So everybody used their individual talents, which is why we chose to be a collective. And I'm trying to think of what other hurdles to buy in. Well, a lot of people, I feel, in my community have the idea that it doesn't matter what you do, nothing is going to change. So a lot of people didn't take us seriously at first. And then I think it was Pilar who said, what is the Rebel Bells? Oh, they're between the Black Panthers and the Girl Scouts. Well, the Black Panthers, for a lot of people, is something scary, and we didn't see it that way. We saw it as like something like a model for us to empower each other and help out the community any way that we can with the local talent. So I guess preconceived ideas that nothing will ever change, and doing everything on a shoestring budget.
Others certainly jump in with other questions that are on your minds, including members of the cast and crew, if you have questions for each other. Michelle, I wondered about sort of why film? Have you used film before as sort of part of your sort of approach to your scholarly contributions? And I guess a sort of second and related question. I have the sense that this was collaborative, but I'd be curious, like, how the making of the film involved the Rebel Bells and like choosing what pieces to emphasize or include. So just be cool to hear a little bit about that process.
Sure. Yeah, so this is my first film. And as an academic, I work in the environmental humanities. So I write a lot about environmental justice issues and how communities are impacted by industrial pollution, and specifically like around waste and garbage. And then I also work in the area of environmental media, and I look at Hollywood film and how environmental issues get framed within mainstream film. And so most of my work is like read by other academics. And yeah, like I was really sort of thinking about how I could broaden the reach of the things that I write about. I also I co-founded and co-direct the Chicago Feminist Film Festival. So I also teach cinema studies and some film and media studies classes here at Columbia College too. And so, you know, meeting Jade and having her talk to me about the Rebel Bells Collective really brought like all of these interests together for me. The environmental justice component, the girls empowerment and gender justice component, and then being able to utilize the medium of film, which is something that I teach through history and through theory, but you know, engage with through running a feminist film festival. And so actually, you know, I was talking about Jade and the Rebel Bells at like one of the feminist film festivals with a bunch of other filmmakers, mostly like women and gender non-binary filmmakers. And they were all like, you should make a film about them. And I was like, oh, but like, I don't know how to do that. But I ended up applying for a grant, a faculty development grant at Columbia College to make the film, and they gave me money. And as a result of that, I ended up applying for an Illinois Arts Council Agency grant, and they gave me money. And so that, you know, started, you know, became the funding foundation to actually make the film. I met my co-director, Ann Colton, who has worked in the film industry for about 20, 30 years, for quite a while. So she's a seasoned filmmaker. And we worked together to kind of help to, you know, make this film happen. But yeah, the Rebel Bells were definitely like a part of making the film. And I, you know, sort of want to pass it over to them to sort of talk about how they felt they were involved in the process of making the film. I will also kind of point out that, you know, through the Chicago Feminist Film Festival, you know, one of the things that, you know, I'm always thinking about, and I also teach a class at Columbia called Feminism in Film, like I'm always thinking about how the film industry is heavily dominated by men, especially white men. And that's Hollywood, of course. But that's also the independent film industry is that way as well. So it was really important to me to make a film about girls and women, but it was really important for me to utilize as many women behind the camera as well. So that was really important to me to be able to work with Anne. Our animator for the film, Danielle Peterson, is, you know, also female identifying. Our composer is actually Anne's spouse, Bob. So, you know, the film isn't entirely made by women, but that was really important to me as well, to kind of give space in terms of production as well. So I'll throw that out. But yeah, I would love to hear from Kiki, Jade, Alyssa, and Marta, like, how do you feel you had a role in shaping the film? And I also would like love to hear from you, because I don't think I've ever asked you, like we all know each other now, and through the making of the film, but what was it like for you, especially like Jade, I knew you from guest lecturing in my class, but Kiki, Alyssa, Marta, like what was it like for you to essentially have a stranger come in and ask to film you? And like, why did you like agree to that?
Well, I felt very safe, and you were very good at communicating what you wanted out of this, and I think we were I don't know, I thought we were pretty good at communicating what we wanted out of it. So I think we bonded, and maybe I think we could we had the same goal. I felt like you could have been a part of Rebel Bells too. It was just like, you know, it really worked. We had the chemistry, I guess. Yeah.
Um, During filming, it didn't really feel like we were filming. It just felt like you were, like Marta said, like a part of the Rebel Bells. And sometimes I would forget that there's a camera there filming. So it's like sometimes I remember when it was time for my interview, I was like, oh yeah, there's a camera here. Like I forgot. But yeah, I just felt really comfortable, and like Marta's, comfortable and safe. First hearing about you wanting to make a film, I was happy because like we were gonna get out there. I wasn't sure about like how many people would reach. But yeah, I was really happy and to be a part of it.
What?
Um, during like when you're moving like to all the places and like basically I kind of forgot like that yeah like it even was a camera, but when it got to the interview point, I was shy.
You were shy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So what do you think about like Anne going to the mushroom hunting with us, or to the powwow? Because remember, she did all that with us, and even
I forgot that like, I didn't really, yeah.
were you just having too much fun?
And you know, Kiki, actually one of my favorite parts of the film is isn't the mushroom foraging where you you break off and hand the mushroom to one of the other girls. And then it's also I love that is the visual image on the screen, but it's Alyssa talking you know, about like race and gender, like in the larger society, and like what it means to be a girl, what it means to be a girl of color. I really like that juxtaposition of the visual image with the voiceover.
Yeah, I think Anne and Michelle did an awesome job with that, and really just I can like encapsulating the spirit of camaraderie, of like badassness that these girls definitely show. You know, it's when they're not shy.
And so as my first film too, I wasn't sure like what the so you know, Anne's a seasoned filmmaker, and actually she spent like a bunch of time in the industry working as an editor, and now she does a lot of like sort of more local, like we live, like Anne and I live in the Chicago South suburbs, so we're sort of like the sort of southern end of the Calumet region that sort of connects Southside Chicago with Northwest Indiana. And Anne does more like kind of local, like she makes videos for nonprofits and stuff now as well. But I think her, like, she did a lot of the editing for the film as well. And I think she did a beautiful job of telling this, like telling the story really well. I think that's captured super well through the film. I wasn't totally sure though, as a first-time filmmaker, like the reception that the film would have. So I have spent the last year putting it out on the film festival circuit. And I mean, we've been accepted into, I think we just had our like 10th film festival acceptance like last week. And I can say this to Marta, Alyssa, Kiki, and Jade, who haven't heard this, but we've been accepted to the Chicago Southside Film Festival is like our most recent film acceptance, film festival acceptance. So, I mean, yeah, the film has had like really excellent reception. So, yeah.
Congratulations. That's so exciting.
Michelle, have you heard of the International Visual Sociology Association? That might be something you check out. I learned about it this year, and their main focus is public sociology and documentary of sociological type issues, as well as photography and other visual forms. But definitely another avenue to further promote this documentary. I think it's something that needs to be spread far and wide, and I'll be talking to my library about getting it into our collection so that I can show it in my classes. So thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And do you mind typing the name of that association like into the chat?
I will.
And that's amazing. Thank you.
Looks like Keith had to go, but he was waving goodbye. Hopefully you saw that. Took his appreciation. Yeah. I have another question, and it's okay if we don't go the full amount of time here. We'll just go until we feel like we're settled. But one question that I was curious about for Alyssa and Marta and Kiki and Jade in particular, I wondered when I was watching it if filming or even being part of the reviewing early drafts of the film or watching it, if it helped you see your own work any differently, or helped you reflect differently on what you were doing. I guess part of the reason I ask that is that as a researcher, sometimes when I like take the time to go back and listen to things, I learn new things through observing my own practice. It's like I'm learning new things about what I'm doing. And there's something about that just sort of slowing down that seems valuable to me. And I wondered if it had anything, what it did for you. Yeah.
Well, I think it was validating. I think often in the environment, being like an environmentalist, like you often fail and nothing comes of anything that you do, and there are still PCB dumps next to your high school, but like I think it definitely like I think the spreading of the word itself is really valuable. And I think it definitely was like, oh, I did something that was of value and that I had an impact. And that was confirmation to me.
Jay, do you remember seeing the rough cut of the film for the first time when we were like sitting in McDonald's together? And I was just like,
did I tear up? I feel like I got emotional. It was amazing. Like I didn't have any preconceived ideas of the finished product. I think I was too nervous about like how my hair looked. But when I just saw the girls shine, I was just so impressed with them. I was actually like outside of the situation. Outside, I had an out of body experience, and I was just beaming with love and pride, and I like every one of those girls were my very own. I'm just like so just so proud of all of them. And I think I did have to see it 2D and take a step back to truly appreciate it. A lot of times, because during the meetings, you know, I'm helping to facilitate. You know, the girls often facilitate. So if they need anything, the mentors are on deck to, you know, smooth things over so that whatever they're teaching or whatever they're sharing goes smoothly. So it was really nice to take a step back and just see everybody being genuine. And I hope they did convey like just their beautiful spirits, and you know, yeah, I just remember being emotional, Michelle.
Well, I don't think that like I had intended to show you the film at that particular moment. Like, I think we were just meeting up for coffee. But I had the film on my, like I had a rough cut of the film on my laptop. So I was like, well, like I can show, like, right, you were like, how's the film coming along? And I was like, well, I guess I could like show it to you. And I remember, because you watched it and you were like engrossed and really silent. And then you were really silent for a while afterwards too. And I was like terrified that you like hated it. But yeah, you like, when I dropped you off afterwards, I think you sent me a text message, like basically like you needed a moment, you know, so that makes sense. Yeah. But you sent me a text message like about how much you loved it and how much it moved you. And yeah. Yeah, like, and that is like exactly why like I wanted to make this film about all of you too, because you all moved me, right? Like hearing about your organization. And I mean, I think I attended meetings for almost a year before we started actually filming, like on and off. Not every time you had a meeting, but like and attended some events and stuff. And so like y'all moved me. So I'm glad that this film is out there so that other people can be moved by you as much as I've been moved by all of you as well.
Yeah, I think it sounds I don't want it to sound egotistical or self-centered, but I found the film inspiring. You know, watching theirs. Now I remember what you were saying. I texted you and I did tell you I was inspired, and like I was there the whole time, you know, that you were filming. I was there the whole time, you know, that we were having Rebel Bells meetings. But seeing it on film, I felt inspired, and I believe that it's because of the girls and their awesomeness and their badassness, but also the way that you and Anne interpreted that.
The big love you all have for each other is really coming through the Zoom room. You're doing doing a good job sharing that. I'm wondering, Dave or Michael, if there were any other lingering questions from either of you that you wanted to ask while we have the sort of privilege of sharing space with the Rebel Bells crew.
Yeah, I don't have any more questions at this time. I'm feeling full, plenty of stuff to digest. And you know, the cool part about this is not just what I got out of it, but you know, when I show it to students and the interpretations that they're going to get out of it, and the dialogue that's the continued conversation that's going to happen over several years to come.
Awesome. We have a thank you from Dave in the chat. How about any closing reflections from Marta or Alyssa about about the film, the process, or this time here together today?
Definitely. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think, well, for me, just talking about the film, it's making me this whole time I've just been thinking about like my time with the Rebel Bells, and it's kind of like a like kind of, I guess, bittersweet, I think is the word, because like I miss everyone, I miss being a part of, I miss like all the meetings, the film. Um, it feels surreal, like it doesn't it doesn't feel like um I was a part of the film. And when Michelle brought up my voiceover when Kiki was picking the mushrooms, I was like, oh yeah, I was in it. Like it's just really surreal, and it's just making me very happy and proud of everything we've done together.
I was kind of gonna say something similar, I guess. It's just nice to see other people that I haven't seen in a while, and regroup. It's just, yeah, bittersweet, I guess.
Well, thank you.
So, well, everybody here misses you.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for making this
Okay,
happen.
so
And sharing your evenings with us. I know we're on at least 3 different time zones, maybe more. So I'm sure it's bedtime for some of you. And I will keep this room open for the bells if you want to chat a little bit more after the guests go on with their evenings. But thank you all so much. It's been lovely to have this conversation together. Thank you, Michelle, for a great film.
thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
And I don't know if you guys want to hang out and chat it all with each other, but I think I can make somebody else the host if you want to.
Sure. Yeah, you can go ahead and make me the host.
Okay, let's see. I'll make you the host, and now you can have a private party, and oh wait, stop the recording.
And Ami, thank you so much for the Q&A. Like,
You're welcome.
it is way past my bedtime. I usually go to bed like an hour ago. Like, so I have like a 4-year-old who is up at like 5:30, 6 a.m. regardless of what time I go to sleep. So.
Well, I'm happy to be with you all. I know that there was a ton of interest because there was like pages and pages of people who saved this, but I think it was a little hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that you don't take it personally that there wasn't a bigger turnout, because there was really a lot of interest of people who had like it.
It's hard because I think all the film Q&As were like at the same time.
They are.
I really realize if I had known that, I would have picked a different, like I would have picked like an hour earlier or something, but
I know.
It's okay.
It's okay. It doesn't look like oh wait, I can stop the video. Let's see. Yes, I can. Oh wait, no, that's stopping my video. I can't stop the recording. It's audio.